Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of the Butt Fumble Sports Show as we truly kick off the best time of year, college football. We're a week away from NFL. We've got baseball in full swing. This is as good as it gets, sports fans. College football has its major kickoff tonight. I know we had week 0, and I know a lot of us enjoyed Georgia Tech pulling their upset against Florida State, but it gets real tonight because from this point on until 2025, football is going to be occupying so much of our time. I just don't know why people have kids, have wives, have lives, because it doesn't matter. Football's going to occupy all the time that would go to other things. Welcome into the show, everyone. Butt Fumble Sports is here with you to talk college football, to talk NFL, to talk your fantasy teams if you're drafting tonight, this weekend, before the kickoff of the season a week from today. You need questions answered, and we are here for it. Of course, we're also going to give out picks for baseball. We've done okay today. One of our long-standing hits had finally missed. The Tigers, they have been a very consistent hit under the circumstances today. They missed. The under hit, though, and other things hit. So we've got plenty of things to give out baseball-wise, but we're going to spend a majority of our time talking CFB and talking fantasy football. We're going to kick things off just there, talking fantasy football. But before we do, if you're new to Butt Fumble Sports, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you hit the like button, tap your screen, and of course, make sure you're subscribing because that's how you can follow us every show, every day. Crash, great to have you with us. Great to meet today. Great to have you watching the show now. Wonderful to know you're watching our show. Sports fan Gav, I'm in an 8-team, 2-QB league. Do I go heavy on QB in the first 2 rounds? Absolutely not. One thing I would advise to a majority of you out there is don't reach on quarterback and on tight end. There's so much value at that position now. There was a time where the elite players at that position, those that would rank 1, 2, or 3, would probably be so outpacing everyone else at the position, they'd be worth the reach. Not anymore. There's such depth there. Frankly, you look at Jaden Daniels, there are going to be weeks that Jaden Daniels will be one of the best fantasy owns. I'm not saying every week, but some weeks. He's going to be available on a number of waiver wires. You can stash him on benches, so I wouldn't reach on quarterback. Going over on to TikTok right now, Ben, Rashee Rice or Tank Dell, not even close. I'd go Rashee Rice. He's a wide receiver 1 on the Kansas City Chiefs. Tank Dell, he's a wide receiver 3 on a Texans team with a lot of mouths to feed and no true pecking order determined yet. We know Rashee Rice is going to get a lot of targets. My only concern about Rashee Rice is whether the suspension we know is comes this year or next year. Different reports about that. That's for his Grand Theft Auto experience out there on the roads of America. Ricky, drafting 10-team man, 1.07 pick. Would you go wide receiver, or running back, or a balanced approach? I'd go running back. The difference between a wide receiver in round 2 and round 3, not that big. The difference between running backs at that position can be pretty substantial, so I'd go towards the running back. Art, I have the 3rd pick. If CeeDee Lamb is available, should I take him? Absolutely. If he's not, Breece Hall would be the next man up. If those 2 are gone, it's really close for me between Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, and Tyreek Hill. It's tight. I'd go Bijan, but I'm hearing arguments that are pretty good for the others as well. You could talk me into either one. John, my draft is on the 3rd. Let's go, John. Let's get you ready. D. Graham, should I be scared about Kyron now? No. Why should you be scared about Kyron? Give me some news. Is there something I'm missing? Is there a reason I should be worried about Kyron Williams? Kike is guap. If Pacheco is gone in the 2nd round, should I target Alvin Kamara, Etienne, Kenneth Walker III, or Mixon? I'd probably target Etienne. Of all those options, he is probably the most talented one, the best one, given his age. He truly is Alvin Kamara, but younger, just with, frankly, more injury history. Kenneth Walker III I'd consider, but it'd be Etienne number 1 out of that group. Kike is guap. Or 10-team standard. Okay, if it's a 10-team standard league, I'd go even more towards the running back position, Bijan for sure. They're saying Blake Corum is the guy. You know what? I hear every year that there's going to be someone who usurps the outstanding fantasy running back of the year. Kyron Williams had a phenomenal year. If Blake Corum comes in and takes some of the carries away, I still don't think that's going to take away his overall production enough for me to be scared off. I'm still very high on Kyren Williams. If you feel that way, maybe you draft and stash Blake Corum, and that way you have the handcuff working in your favor. Keegan, hope you're having a great day. Keegan Casper, one of our favorites over here, a very loyal viewer. James Fish is asking about James Cook. I'm very high on James Cook because we know the Bills' offense is shifting. The Bills' offense is going to focus more on the run game, play action, using the tight end a lot, so I'm very high on that. To Aiden, they scared because of punting situation for Kyren. I don't know why. I don't understand why people are concerned about the fact that Kyren Williams is going to return kicks or return punts. I actually think it is a sign that Sean McVay sees how special teams is changing in the NFL, and you actually want elite quarterbacks there more than anything else. DeAndre Stinson, got any college football locks for tonight? I'll never call anything a lock, you guys know that, but I do have some college football picks of my own. Let's talk about those for just a quick minute before we get back to some college football, to some fantasy football. So let's jump on over to Outlier for those new to the show. Outlier is one of our sponsors. It's the best sports betting research tool on the market. Check it out. One game I really like tonight, North Carolina Tar Heels against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This game's in Minnesota. The money right now coming down on UNC, but a lot of the trends are coming down on Minnesota. If you can, buy the points and take Minnesota. I took Minnesota at plus 3.5. That's a home team as an underdog facing a team that has some question marks after last year. They no longer have their old starting quarterback. So I'm going to take Minnesota to cover, but I'm going to take Minnesota at plus 3.5. They're a strong cover play. That line's moved. It was at 2 plus 2. It's now at plus 1.5. I got it at plus 3.5 earlier in the day. Oklahoma Sooners are going to win by a ton against Temple. I expect they could potentially cover. I know it sounds crazy at 42.5 points, but buy it down maybe a little bit. But Oklahoma, I do think they're going to cover that massive spread. One team that I've been talking about quite a bit over the last few days is Georgia. Georgia Bulldogs. I think they're going to end up winning the national championship this year. Georgia, I think, has a phenomenal roster. They have their established starting quarterback. No questions there. I think Georgia covers the spread against Clemson. I did buy it down and took it under 10 points. I took it at minus 9.5 earlier in the day, again with some parlays. But I think Georgia is significantly better than Clemson. I think Georgia is significantly better than almost anyone else in the country. Ohio State and Oregon being maybe the two exceptions right now. But I'm very high on Georgia to get off to a fast start. So I'll take the dogs. If you did want to take it at the line right now at minus 13.5, I'm actually willing to take the true gamble on that because I do think Georgia is significantly better, and they obviously are more aware of the circumstances around this game in terms of preparation maybe than Clemson, a younger roster. One game that I'm not betting necessarily right now, but I'm looking at where the line movement's going to be. I certainly would be warning you guys against taking the Miami Hurricanes. The Miami Hurricanes are a minus 2.5 favorite. If you've watched the Hurricanes over the last few years, it feels like every year we start to build up the hype machine around the U and they land flat on their face. Florida's kind of an awkward team for them to play against. I'm not going to bet this one right now. Again, I'm going to wait to see where the line movement goes. But if I can get some more action on Florida, I'll take Florida. Right now it's plus 2.5. Again, I'd love to take them at a plus, frankly, at a plus 6.5. If this line moves to a Florida plus 4, I'm going to take it at the plus 6.5. I think this is going to be a much closer game than people think. I could even see the upset. Not that Florida's a good team. It's just Miami doesn't seem to come through in these situations. Final few thoughts for you on the games tonight. One more for you, actually. It's not up here on the board on Outlier, but it's the game everyone's going to be talking about. It's obviously on ESPN. That's Colorado against North Dakota State Bison. I'm taking the Bison to cover. I've got them at plus 9.5. I've got them at plus 10.5. I've got them at plus 14.5. I think the hype around primetime Deion Sanders is fine if you're a fan. But when it comes to betting, there's too much public love on the Colorado Buffalo. There is just way too much love on them. Because of that, I think the sportsbook are trying to avoid the risk. They've moved this line to a point where I actually think it's in your favor to take North Dakota State. So I'm actually fading primetime. I'm taking Buffalo's going to win. I'm not saying they get upset outright, but I actually think they don't cover the spread. I love that the line movements worked in my favor over the course of the day. So that is one bet that I am taking. If you're curious about my MLB picks for today, I do have a few picks I like. I like the Athletics to cover. Athletics plus 1.5. Phillies on the money line. Phillies on the money line. Athletics plus 1.5. Those are a few of the bets I really like. When it comes to player prop bets this evening, Marcell Ozuna and Bryce Harper, two hitters with a great history against the starting pitchers they're facing. Keep your eye on them. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and George Springer, two hitters who hit Cutter Crawford of the Boston Red Sox very well. Vlad Guerrero Jr., George Springer, two other hitters I like. And obviously at this point, Bobby Witt Jr. He has good numbers against the starting pitcher of the Astros. You can get him at over half a hit. You can sprinkle him into some other things for some player prop bets. So those are some of the plays I'm making for today. Let's get back to some fantasy football conversation, though, everybody. And let's see where we're going next. Swim, who you taking with the number one overall pick? Personally, it does depend if it's a PPR or a standard league. I think if it's PPR, I'll go with CeeDee Lamb. If it's a non-PPR, a standard league, I'll go Breece Hall. D. Graham, thoughts on Ladd McConkey this year? You know he's one of my lottery ticket wide receivers, a rookie who's going to end up being a wide receiver one on the Chargers. He's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of opportunities. He's not necessarily going to put up a lot of flashy stats, but for the point in the draft in which you select him, he'll have really good value. Under the radar, as far as draft goes, do you think Laporta is top tight end to target in the draft? I think he's going to be the number one fantasy tight end, but I also think there's such depth at that position between Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta. Those four alone. I didn't mention Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram. You can add that to the bunch. Those are 6 tight ends that could all compete week to week for not just being the best tight end in the National Football League, but for being one of the best pass catchers, because they're going to put up massive points. I'm very big on the tight end position. In fact, you could even convince me there are some weeks to play 2 tight ends this year because they're going to be so good in the flex. Anthony Raggs, Stroud, Saquon, Etienne, Collins, Ridley, Freiermuth, Pollard, 14-man PPR. Interesting. I actually like the team overall because you solidified the running back position despite it being a 14-man draft. I know Nico Collins and Ridley are shaky picks, but Saquon, Etienne, Pollard, I feel like that's a pretty good group for your running backs. I think this is a B. If it wasn't a 14-man, it'd be a B-. I'm not crazy about the team overall, but that said, I do think it's a B given the size of the league. Burner Account 3 over on YouTube. Thoughts on Kupp in the third round of a 12-man PPR? You could talk me into him. I'm not crazy about Cooper Kupp. I really think he's a 4th-round pick. In a 12-man, I understand he probably slides into the 3rd round, but there are reasons for me to believe there are other wide receivers I like him more. Nate Hollis. I have McConkey, Keon Coleman, and Adunze, by the way. Clearly, you've been watching the show and following the advice. Do you like George Kittle as a tight end? To Aiden, there are weeks I'm going to really like him. For me, George Kittle is very much about the matchup. When he's got a good matchup, I like it. There are some weeks he's going to get lost because there are so many mouths to feed in that San Francisco offense, especially with Ayuk staying. So, Pearsall, by the way, the rookie out of Florida, he's not on my lottery ticket wide receiver list because he's been injured through camp. But he's another one that joins that team, could take away targets away from Kittle once healthy. Yes or no? I'm getting Diggs, Goddard, Godwin, and Robinson. I'm giving up Evans and Ingram. Which Robinson is it? Is it Brian Robinson? I guess I like it because you're getting more in return and you can mix and match. But I certainly think that Evans and Ingram probably are better than any two you could put together in the Diggs, Goddard, Godwin, and Robinson conversation. Antonio needs some advice. One who I should keep in my keeper league. Full PPR, torn between Lamar, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon. What are your thoughts? In a keeper league, I'm not crazy about those 3 players. Lamar's the one I would keep. I expect Lamar Jackson to be the number 1 fantasy quarterback this season. Steve TX, great to see you back with the show. There he is. Missed you, man. Great to have you watching the show. We helped Steve win his league last year. He's ready for a whole new season this year. Thanks for joining us again. Make sure you guys hit the follow button and make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on TikTok, make sure you subscribe because that way you can catch our subscriber-only shows. We do our show for everybody at 4:30 in the afternoon, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoons. We do a subscriber show at night, usually around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Those subscriber-only shows allow you to ask as many questions as you want. So if you have a trade, if you want to work through some of your roster, sometimes it's hard during these shows to get multiple questions answered. That's one thing you can do. So hit that subscriber button if you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or on TikTok. Jorge Karras, no more TikTok, brother? Why? I'm over here. Are you no longer on TikTok? Because we're here on TikTok. Habibi, thoughts on Achan? I like Achan as an RB2. I'm not crazy about him as an RB1. The injury history, Mostert in a busy backfield. I'm just not crazy about him as a true RB1. Nate Hollis, should I trade Brees or Jonathan Taylor for receivers when my top three are Harrison, Keon, and McConkey? I'd hold on to the two running backs. I actually think you could win your league with the two running backs and then figure out your wide receiver position later. Under the radar, I took Mostert last year in like round 7 or 8. To say he was a steal was an understatement. Who's your late round sleeper this year? Well, to that note, Mostert could be this year if Achan gets hurt, so it's a similar story there. I think J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, a couple of interesting guys. Both came out of the backfield of Baltimore last year, so kind of curious to see how their season plays out. Things would have to go right. DeAndre Swift, someone I really like, but he's not going to fall to that round. Someone who's falling even later is Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he could end up being the number one running back for them by the end of the year. Probably, obviously, sooner than that because you'll need production from him. But by week probably 10, 9, 10, I think he'll be the number one running back over Zach Moss. Oh, 5-5-5-5. I'm getting McBride and Scary Terry, and I'm losing Reed and Monty. Yes. Love the trade. 5-5-5 getting McBride and Terry McLaurin for the players you're giving up. I endorse that trade. QB, Tua, Robinson, and Connor are the two running backs along with Walker, Puka, London, Laporta, Moody. Air Bomber. I really like this team overall. You've done a good job at the running back position with depth. James Conner may not last the whole year, but you're okay there. I love what you did at wide receiver. You got the defense I like. Tight end at Laporta. That's a really solid team. I'd give it an A- right now. Sebastian, I'm in a 12-man, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex leagues. Should I draft 2 receivers in a row? In a 12-man, be very, very careful. If you wait on running backs, it's hard to really claim one of the better running backs if you wait that long. North Dakota State, first half, plus 6.5. ME, I freaking love that pick. I'm very big on North Dakota State tonight. And yes, I do like that plus 6.5 in the first half. Are you doing any fantasy leagues today? Josh, we will do one. How about that? We got asked about it a little bit earlier. We will do a fantasy league. This will be our 20th fantasy league that we've started with the viewers of this show. We're going to make it a 12-team league, everybody. A 12-team league so you guys can participate if you want. DM me on Instagram right now. That's ButtFumble Sports on Instagram. DM me if you want to compete in this free $0 buy-in, free league. You can compete all season long against me. Just DM me on Instagram so I can share the link with you. MTV, Nick, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, James Conner. Really strong MTV, Nick. Really strong play. If you want to get in on this fantasy football draft, this is going to be a 12-man PPR league. DM me on Instagram, everybody. ButtFumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. That way you can be a part of the league. Josh Waltrip, since you brought it up, you get in on the action right away. DM me on Instagram. That's how you can be a part of the league. So hit me up while you can. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the content of the show. Make sure you hit the follow button. Dominic, what's the platform we're doing the draft on? It's on Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy. DM me on Instagram like Garrett Irvin if you want to be a part of the league. There you go, Garrett. Charlie, rate my 10-man PPR, Lamar, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, DK, and Mark Andrews. I would say this is the best team in the league 2 years ago. I think a number of those players have regressed. I think this is a playoff team. I don't think it's a championship team. I'll give it a B+ for the moment. Tim, hit me up about joining this league. Here you go, Tim. There's a link. Go get yourself in this 12-man PPR league we're going to draft the moment we fill up every slot. We have 3 spots filled, by the way, so plenty of time to get in on the action. Make sure you're a member of this latest draft. Jonathan, what's good? Braden M. Will you rate my 10-man? Richardson, Achan, Jacobs, St. Brown, Wilson, Kincaid, Waddle. You really value the wide receiver position. I love your wide receivers. Running backs are okay. Overall, it's a B-plus team. If Achan performs at that elite level, if he's a RB1, then you've got an A-minus team. But I don't think you're quite there. I think Achan and Jacobs, there's just enough concern for me there. If you want to get in on this fantasy football league, we're going to be drafting in a moment. DM me on Instagram, ButtFumble Sports. Philly Sports Highlights. Should I draft Jamar Chase? I would not. Reasons for me to fade him overall. Tougher division than I think people are acknowledging. The AFC North is a very tough division. He's already being questionable for week 1. The coach has already said, I kind of put my foot in my mouth when I said he's definitely going to play week 1. So reasons to maybe fade Jamar Chase a little bit. Nate Hollis, what do you think? Zamir White as a flex option some weeks? Yeah, I think that is a decent play. Jonathan Anton, 10-man, I got Hall, Barkley, Kupp, Evans, Ingram, Kyler Murray. That's a really strong team overall. I'd give that team an A- as of right now. If your wide receivers stay healthy and productive, I would definitely believe it's an A-. Who are you leaning for Ohio State versus Oregon in October? We're obviously going to have to see how the things go over the next few weeks. There's a part of me that wants to say it's Oregon. I'm very high on that squad overall. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. If you want to be a part of this fantasy football league, DM me on Instagram. ButtFumble Sports, DM me on Instagram. 5 slots filled, 7 slots to go. So if you want to participate, it's a $0 buy-in, season-long league. You can compete against me and prove that you know more in fantasy than I do. So DM me on Instagram. Logan just hit me up. Logan, you're getting the link. There are spots still available. So hit us up. Ben Rollwagon, rate 12-man PPR, Kyler, Jacobs, Pollard, CD Devontae. You're overloaded on the Arizona offense, and I don't love the running back position. I'll give it a B. Formerly known as third pick in a 14-man draft. What's your strategy? Lock in a top running back. In that first pick of your draft, that first round pick, get a Breece Hall, get a Christian McCaffrey, get a Bijan Robinson, lock in the running back. On the turnaround, you wait a long time. Hopefully, like, Pacheco is still there. I would love for my first 2 picks in that scenario to be a Breece Hall and to be a Pacheco. Then you can get your first wide receiver in the 3rd round. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will probably be gone by then. But like a Michael Pittman Jr., Olave, DK Metcalf, those are some of the players I would expect to be on the board. I think a lot of people would think Cooper Kupp at that time. Personally, I still think that's a reach. Trey Wimp, great to see you. Do you expect big things from Cooper Kupp? I expect a Mike Evans kind of season. Very consistent, high floor. I don't know if the ceiling is there, though. Aaron, I think you're right, buddy. I think it's a good call over on Instagram. If you want to be a part of this fantasy football draft and this league, season-long league, $0 buy-in, DM me on Instagram. Thoughts on Waddle in the 3rd round? You could talk me into it. Personally, I think it's maybe a reach by 1 round, but he kind of falls into the Cooper Kupp camp. But that said, he's younger and probably more potential, so I'd be more likely to take him in the 3rd round than Cooper Kupp. Tricker Joe, rate 14 team, Richardson, Bijan, Spears, Puka, Olave, Higgins, and Conk. Overall, it's a solid team given how big the league is. I'll give it a B right now. That's why I wasn't crazy about actually doing a draft today. I thought most people would be focused on their own drafts. So if we don't get enough people for this draft, guys, we won't do it. But if you want to participate in this fantasy draft, DM me on Instagram right now. Justin, you want to be in? Here's a link. There you go. If you want to participate in this league, you're more than happy to. Samu, Etienne, Kyren, Pacheco. I'd go Kyren 1, Pacheco 2, Etienne 3. Jaden Nason, thoughts on A.J. Brown? I think he will regress compared to his production in past seasons. He's still a good own, but he might be a wide receiver 1 in stats. I think he will regress, though. Horry Karras, looking to get value. Judy, Mike Williams, Aaron Jones. Who are some guys to target? I love the Mike Williams play. I really think that's a good one. He's been cleared to play week 1 for the Jets. Don't be surprised if he comes out of the chute playing really well this year, given he's a vet. I think also a lot of attention is obviously going to go to stopping the running game of Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. That may open up Mike Williams to have a pretty good year. Jay Gold 5, Lamar, JT, Kamara, Wilson, Amari Cooper, McBride. That's a really strong team for a 12-man league. That's an A- team. Absolutely love it. If Jorge Karras, I would trade Aaron Jones. I'm not big on Aaron Jones. Caden, thoughts on Michael Pittman this year? I like him, but I like him as a wide receiver 2, not as a wide receiver 1. Dylan Meyer, rate my 12-man PPR. Oops. Rate my 12-man PPR. Rodgers, Stafford, Saquon, Gibbs, Kupp, Pickens, Ferguson, Diggs. I like the quarterback strategy combined with running backs. Love the running backs you got, and clearly you waited on quarterback. I think it's a really smart play. If you want to be a part of this 12-man PPR league, season-long league that we'll draft the moment we fill up every slot, DM me on Instagram. 6 slots have been filled, 6 slots to go. DM me on Instagram if you want to participate. Justin, who would you draft at 1.01? Breece Hall. Breece Hall would probably be it, or CeeDee Lamb, depending on how the league's set up. William, Hurts, Gibbs, Robinson, Eckler, Dell, A.J. Brown, Andrews, and Mike Williams. Thoughts on the 12-man team? Your running back position, I'm questioning a little bit. Overall, I think this is a B team. I wish I could feel better about it. It might be as high as a B+ if everything goes right, but I think it's a B. Garrett Irvin, trade McCaffrey and Olave for Lamb and Pacheco. Yes, I would. Yes, I would do that deal. It's a very fair trade, by the way. User 1195, 12-team, half PPR league, and you're picking 11th. Hurts, JT, Gibbs, Olave, Neighbors, Andrews, T. Higgins, Javonte, McConkey, Charbonnet, Jaden Daniels, and Mike Williams. Really strong. That's a B+ team. If Neighbors plays well, I don't expect him to. It could be an A- team, but I certainly believe that's a strong B+ team. Can make a postseason run. Owen Brown wants to get in on the league. There you go. There's a link for you. Brent, you want to join? Of course you can. We're taking everyone in this league. This is our 20th fantasy league. If you want to participate, D, what's good? If you want to get in on the league, DM me on Instagram, Buttfumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. Yo, it's Timmy. There's a link to the league. Get in on it while you can. This is going to be one of our last leagues of the year. I don't know if we're going to do that many more. So get in while you can. Our 20th of the offseason so far. Ghost Pepper 32. Jacobs, Kamara, Mixon in the 3rd round. Love Jacobs in the 3rd round. Dylan Meyer, nervous about Pickens and Diggs, though, and still unsure on Kupp. Yeah, I think every one of those wide receivers has a giant question mark there. Do you think at the 3rd pick in the 14-man taking CD is a bad idea? No, it's not a bad idea, but you're really missing out on running backs, and it's tough for me to endorse it. Appreciate the question. If you guys are looking for my picks every day for NFL, college football, MLB, DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free every day, so DM me on Instagram if you want those. Ghost Pepper, I'd go Jacobs over K9 in the 3rd. Jacobs. Who should I draft with a 1.04 pick? Bijan Robinson if he's there. If Breece Hall's still on the board, I would, but Bijan would be the one after that. Thoughts on Gibbs? Trade Gibbs for JT? Yes, I would, William. Calvin Ridley or Christian Kirk? I'll go Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to get more targets. Christian Kirk's going to be competing with more with Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. Warren or Javonte? Ooh, good question. I think it'll probably end up being Javonte. I like Warren more, but he's got to split carries with Najee, which will hurt him. Thoughts on answered that. Ethan, Reese and Bijan over Jamar Chase? Yes, sir. User 78 just traded Raiders starting running back for Gus Edwards, who is RB1. It's an interesting idea. Mr. Senju in a 12-man. Who else besides Hill, CD, St. Brown would be wide receiver 1 to target in the mid to late 2nd round? Is Garrett Wilson still on the board? I like him. He certainly falls into that category as well. Edgar, North Dakota, plus 10.5. I love it. I'm making that pick as well. How much of a hit, if any, does JJ's fantasy stock take? It takes a significant hit under the radar. I would not draft him. Guys, we have 9 spots filled for this draft, 3 spots to go. If you want to participate in this 12-man PPR league like Memo Rodriguez, there's the link. Go sign up. We have 3 slots left. 3 spots left for a 12-man PPR league. Claim your spot, season-long competition, $0 buy-in. $0 buy-in, so get in on it now. Guillermo Rodriguez, what's good? Come on down. Dominic, thoughts on Ayuk? I'm glad he's staying with the 49ers. I do think that's going to work for him to some degree. It's bad for Deebo Samuel. It's bad for George Kittle's production. But I do like Brandon Ayuk. Cody, thanks so much for the hanging lights. Appreciate the gift, buddy. LG, what do you think about having Monty and Gibbs? Love it. I wouldn't have them 1 and 2. I'd start one each week. Whoever you think that... You could start them both each week, but I'd have one probably as the flex. Best strategy for a 16-man team draft, get running backs. Get your running backs. You can't have enough running backs in that. Greg, Achan, he's a good RB2. I don't think he's a good RB1. Diego, I like McBride over Andrews. McBride over Andrews, Diego. You got that question in 2 ways to Sunday. I like McBride over Andrews this year. The injury history and the mouths that have to be fed in that Baltimore offense. You got Derrick Henry. You got Zay Flowers. I prefer McBride's going to get, other than Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to get all the targets. So I'm very big on Trey McBride this year. DM me on Instagram if you want to participate in this fantasy football draft. 12 teams, $0 buy-in PPR. We're going to draft the moment we fill up the final 3 spots. User 8595. Thoughts on Ramondre Stevenson as a flex? I like him as a flex. As a bench option, I like him. As an RB2, I don't, so you have a perfect team. Pacheco, Barkley, Stevenson, that's a good trio. Quincy, thanks for the follow button. Christopher, you got to DM me on Instagram. I can't share links on TikTok. It's one of the reasons I'm asking. That's the only reason I ask you guys to DM me on Instagram. It's because I'm able to share the link there. I actually just sent out the link on Twitch, Kick, and on YouTube as well. So if you do want to participate, if you do want to participate, you can go there as well. Chris, thanks for hitting me up on Instagram. I'm sending you the link right now, Chris, so you can get in on the league. $0 buy-in, 12-team league. It's a season-long league. 2 spots left. Only 2 spots left. Rower boat. Our boat. I don't even know what that is. Allen, Breece Hall, Etienne, Neighbors, Higgins, and Njoku, James Conner. Love the running backs. Like the quarterback. But the wide receivers, you're taking some gambles. I'm okay with it. It's a B-plus team for me. I understand the risk you're taking and what it took. You had to go chase those running backs, so it meant it might have compromised your wide receivers just a little bit. Dominic, I just got Ayuk for Jalen Polk, Algier, and a 26 first and 27 first. Wow. I don't know if I like that trade. I like it for this year, but long term, I actually think you gave up a lot. Teeks Leaf, thoughts on a 2-keeper league option, Gibbs, Puka, Wilson. I'd go Gibbs and Wilson. Gibbs and Wilson would be my 2 keepers in that league. I'd give up Puka, believe it or not. Appreciate the question. Hope you're having a great day. Make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us every time we're live. We're talking fantasy football every single day remaining this year. Either during our show at 4:30 Monday through Friday. We do a show Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time for everybody. You can also watch us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. 10 a.m. taking you up to kickoff at 1 p.m. We also do subscriber-only shows at night. The subscriber-only shows are usually at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And again, subscriber-only. That way we can answer as many questions as subscribers have. Makes it really easy to get through a bunch of them. Alex Sanborn in a 12-man half PPR tight end premium league. Where do you take Kelsey and Laporta? Because it's a tight end premium league, the second round, I normally wouldn't say that. I normally say something like the 4th, but because it's a premium league, you're letting me know that there's just extra value there. Steve TX, thanks for subscribing. Welcome to the community. Michael Stuck, thoughts on Kyron? I'm very high on Kyron Williams. I'm surprised people are starting to fade him. Does surprise me. John, here's the link. John just hit me up on Instagram. He wants to get in on this fantasy league. We only have 2 spots left, so get it while you can. Wes, Javonte or Zamir White? Great question. I don't really want either one of them, if I'm being honest. I probably lean towards Javonte, maybe slightly, but it's very, very close. Jacob Tay, should we worry about Chase? Yes, I would be worried about Chase. Saquon prediction with the new offense, he's going to flourish. This is a really good offensive line. Even with the loss of Jason Kelsey, this is a top 5, top 6 offensive line in Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley's going to perform really, really well there. Blake, what do you think about stacking Hurts and Brown? I'm okay with it. I don't love it as much as I would have last year because there are more mouths to feed. We just filled up this draft. We are going to set up the draft right now, everybody. We will start this draft at 5:15. At 5:15, we will start this 12-man PPR league. 30 seconds will be on the clock per pick. We're going to set the draft order right now. It's been randomized. I just randomized it. I'm the first overall pick. I didn't force that. It's actually not a great spot to be in, to be honest, in a 12-man league. It's okay, but I am the first overall pick, so we'll have to see where I go. We're going to start this draft in about 2 minutes, everybody. 2 minutes. Formerly known as, I'd go Bijan over McCaffrey, believe it or not. Alex Sanborn, where do you feel comfortable taking Achan? Probably in the 4th round. I feel good about taking him. I know some people will take him in the 3rd. It's around that area. 3rd to 5th round is the spot. Who would you rather in that range? Sorry, I lost the question, Wes. Darius Taylor or Gibbs? I'd go Jonathan Taylor. What are your thoughts on Mike Evans? Really high floor, not a really high ceiling. He's a really solid play. I love him as a wide receiver too. As a flex, he's fantastic, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of massive games from him necessarily. Maybe 2 a year. Travis, Christian Kirk, or Ridley? I'd go Ridley. I prefer him. Big Ainge, St. Brown or Jefferson? I think Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to end up being the #1 fantasy wide receiver if it's not CeeDee Lamb. Who's your favorite Bills wide receiver? I think it's probably Shakir right now. I think it'll be Keon Coleman by weeks 5, 6 of the season. It's going to take a few weeks for him to get going. We're going to start this fantasy draft in 1 minute for those that are participating. Who would you rather in the Zamir Javonte range? Is DeAndre Swift still on the board? Probably not. I prefer, do I prefer James Conner? I don't know. Devin Singletary. I prefer Devin Singletary, I believe. Tay, I would worry about Chase. Jacob Wolf, thoughts on Mixon? I think he's going to be good for touchdowns. Don't love the yardage, so I do think he's going to have a lesser value. If he doesn't get you his weekly touchdown, not as good a spot. Best pick at 10th overall. Personally, I'm still looking at like an Amon-Ra St. Brown or one of the running backs. I would reach on Kyron at that spot. I'd take Jonathan Taylor. Mark Gonzalez traded away Goddard and Swift for Stevenson and Taysom Hill. No, I'm not crazy about it. We're going to start this draft in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The draft is underway. I am drafting first, and because it's a 12-team league, I'm going to take a running back. So it's going to be Breece Hall, first overall for me. Breece Hall, first overall, not CeeDee Lamb. If it was a smaller league, I'd go CeeDee Lamb. But because it's 12, I'm going running back. How do you feel about DK? I'm pretty high on him, actually. I think people are overlooking him. Ryan Jimenez, I'd go Pacheco. Pacheco over Jacobs just slightly, just because I trust Pacheco a little more. Andrews or Kittle? Kennedy Brown, it's Andrews. Andrews. Bijan Robinson off the board next. Interesting pick by John. Thoughts on Keenan Allen and Hollywood Brown this year? Both are actually good picks for the risk that they offer. Hollywood Brown's obviously injured, so you're not going to go drafting him now. But off the waiver wire, he's going to be a good own. Keenan Allen, I don't think he's going to be the #1 wide receiver on the team. I expect that to be DJ Moore. But I think he'll be a decent own as a wide receiver too. Maybe even best option is actually maybe a flex, to be honest. Thoughts on Rashad White? He'll regress from what he was last year. He just outperformed our expectations last year, and I don't think he'll duplicate that level. He'll be good. He won't be that good. Appreciate the comments. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. User 26, I'd go Singletary for the season. Maybe for the first few weeks I'll go Ford, but for the season I'll go Singletary. Drew Chains, I like Ladd McConkey as a lottery ticket, a sleeper pick, someone you can draft and hope that he turns into that clear-cut wide receiver 1 on the Chargers. Hope you guys are loving the show. Hit the follow button. If you're loving the content, make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you're a member of this amazing community. Alex Sanborn, Laporta over Kelsey for me. I'd go Waddle, Ahmed. I'd go Waddle over Collins. Where'd I get this shirt? Where did I get this shirt? Once I remember where I got it. Oh, mixunit.com. I got it at mixunit.com. Great spot to get shirts, mixtapes, mixunit.com. That's where I got this this shirt. I believe this is what was an old Esquire cover that had Muhammad Ali as Saint Sebastian on it. Amin, I'd go Kyron over Etienne. User 26, I'd go Singletary over Dobbins. Elver, Yo Mama was here. Who should I start week 1, Najee or Tank Dell? Ugh, I'd start Tank Dell, I guess, but by default because I don't like Najee. Dylan Meyer, I'm not ignoring your question. I didn't see it. Where are you at, ma'am? Vismar answered that. Too much for the bullshit. I'm confused by the question. Can you rewrite it? Shady Esco, how do you feel about Coleman? I think he's going to have to learn how to be a wide receiver 1 by week 6, 7. I like him. Early on, it may take a while. Dylan Meyer, all right, clearly ignoring me. I'm leaving. Dylan Meyer, I think Dylan Meyer's trolling us. I don't know if he's actually written a question. If Dylan Meyer's actually written a question, let's pin it. If he hasn't written a question, I'm going to block him. How about that? Lane Johnson, Eckler or Najee? Ooh, really tough. I guess I'd go Eckler, but I'm not... Ugh, I don't like either one. I guess I'd go Eckler, though. Who should I start, Gus Edwards or Warren? I'd go Edwards, I think, but I'm not crazy, again, about either one. Olave or Waddle? Alex, I think I'd go Olave, believe it or not. It's very close for me, but I'd go Olave. Thoughts on Rico Dowdle? His values plummeted with the signing of Dalvin Cook. Creepy Rhino. You gotta love social media. Anyone who's got a handle called Creepy Rhino. Kamara, Hollywood Brown in the Dynasty. I'd still probably hold on to Kamara for one more year. RJ, trade Najee and Amon-Ra St. Brown from McCaffrey. I would not do that deal. Brandon, I traded Kamara for Pacheco. I do like that trade. Brandon, that's a very good deal. I'm about it. Run on running back as expected. What about Chase Brown? Lane Johnson, I really like him. I think he's got long-term value. He's a good sleeper play. All right, this draft's going to take way too long. I forgot how long a 12-team draft is if we do 30 seconds. So, guys, I'm going to speed this up to 15 seconds on my pick, okay? So, Garrett Irvin's going to be our last 30-second pick. It's going to be 15 seconds from now on, so it's going to move. So, guys, be ready to draft when it's your time to go, because we're going to speed it up now, okay? Because this is moving too slow. Oh, do I have to pause it first? Hold on one second. Pause. Draft settings. Oh, gosh darn it. Can I not change it? Rival Fantasy, this is a bad... No. Rival Fantasy, this is not a good look for you. That's not good. All right, I got to go. I'll do it anyways. Damn it. I got to get another running back. I'll go Kenneth Walker as the second running back. That I don't love it. And I'll go Drake London. Too bad. That's not a very good feature, if I can be honest. If I can shit on Rival Fantasy for a moment, that's something they need to change. I know they're a sponsor. I love them. They're great, and they know I give my comments with love. But if I can't change the length of a pick mid-draft, that's a bad luck. That's a bad luck. You should be able to do that. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that. So, yeah, not a very good look for Rival Fantasy. JD, what do you think of Keenan Allen? He's okay. Eric, start 3. Smith, Higgins, Rice, Metcalf, Coleman, McConkey. Start 3 for week 1. Rashee Rice would be 1. DK Metcalf would be 2. Which Smith are we talking about? Devontae Smith? Devontae Smith would probably be number 3. King and Black. I'm looking for a sneaky running back wide receiver. Any that come to mind? Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm actually going to sign off right now. I've kind of... It's funny, I've hit that moment, actually. I'll keep this draft going, but I'm going to sign off right now. We'll do a subscriber-only show later, but I feel like I'm repeating a lot of questions, and I'm starting to maybe get a little hangry. So with that said, I'm going to sign off right now. I'll do a subscriber-only show later, so make sure you guys check that out. We will continue this draft, so you guys can check that out. But I'm going to sign off from TikTok right now. Okay, guys? Goodbye, everybody. If you're watching over on YouTube, we're still live on YouTube. I decided to stay live on YouTube and complete the draft. So we're still live on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. Frankly, I was just kind of getting frustrated by kind of repeat questions. There usually comes a moment in a show for fantasy football where I feel like I'm answering the same like 3 questions. Like, how do you feel about Cooper Kupp? How do you feel about Cooper Kupp? Do you think Cooper Kupp has good value? Like, what do you think of Cooper Kupp? And it's kind of like, I know it's up to me to kind of weed out the questions, and therefore I should be the one who's kind of vetting that. But at a certain point, you're just kind of like, okay, guys, we're gonna depart. And we were live for an hour, so I feel good about it. But we're gonna keep the draft going. I wish we could sum things up a little bit faster. Again, really disappointed that Rival Fantasy doesn't have this capability. For the guys at Rival Fantasy, this is something you really need to change. This is not good. But that said, we're going to keep making our way through this 12-team league. So keep the draft going. Let me know what you guys think. I've got the comment section up for YouTube. If you guys do want to ask some questions, we're all about it. What advice can you give someone who's playing fantasy football for the first time? 1, have a lot of fun. Know that everybody gets it wrong because injuries happen and people make mistakes, so don't feel like you got to be perfect. But what I would say is, get good running backs, load up on good running backs and good wide receivers. You can find quarterbacks, tight ends, defenses later in a draft, but load up on quarterbacks and, load up on wide receivers and running backs. Can't guard Mello. Traded Jamar Chase and Rashad White for Justin Jefferson, Zamir White, and Zay Flowers. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not crazy about it. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not crazy about it. Appreciate the question though. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. I'm gonna order my dinner right now while I'm on with you guys, and I wait for my pick. Fortunately, I actually have my fantasy draft tonight, my auction draft. I am so freaking pumped. Man, I'm hungry. I don't know. Hungry hit me. It hit me hard there. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to sign off, guys. I'm actually going to go get some food. I'll catch you guys later. I appreciate you guys watching the show. I know this was kind of a stunted ending to the show, but just going to run off and go do some other things now. So I appreciate you guys watching.